We're joined now by Gideon Skinner from the polling company Ipsos. Maury, welcome to the programme. Well, our non-scientific poll there in the capital showed that the people that responded didn't think he had the qualities to be Prime Minister. What are the qualities people look for?
They look for what we think of classic prime ministerial traits, things like understanding the problems facing Britain, being a good in a crisis, being a capable leader, having sound judgment. Those types of issues tend to come out more of importance for voters than things like having a great personality. I mean, I think what you've got to take into account, though, is that people aren't necessarily judging Nigel Farage on whether they want him to be a Prime Minister. They've got a different set of criteria, I think. Right.
I mean, how is he doing compared to the other leaders? One person who came up to Giles actually said, well, I don't see any of them as potential Prime Ministers.
They've certainly, all the parties, particularly the main traditional parties, actually having problems connecting with voters at the moment. We certainly see that with Conservatives, with Labour and the Liberal Democrats, and we're seeing this sort of rise with in support for the minor parties. But if you look at Nigel Farage's own ratings, he does very strongly on issues like having a good personality, having a very clear vision for Britain. He scores better than the other leaders on those. He does less well, certainly compared to David Cameron, on things like being a capable leader or being good in a crisis.
Right. I mean, isn't the point, though, that not many people have thought about him in those terms, and also that he is enjoying a certain amount of support because he is the opposition. He is painting himself as against the establishment. But look what happened to the Liberal Democrats when they then went into coalition. Of course, that all fades away.
Yes, I think currently he's the noisy boy on the corner, and he's the guy that's throwing the custard pies. I've known Nigel Farage probably for the thick end of 20 years. And I would say, actually comparing him either to Miliband or to Cameron, I would say he's just as capable of making decisions. I think mind you, I could see the drinks bill number 10 going up sharply if he did become.
He'll thank you for that.
Well,
I'm sure.
I had lunch with him about 10 days ago. I was astonished at how many bottles of red disappeared.
But doesn't that sort of anecdote actually make him more popular?
I think it does.
Right.
And what happened before was you couldn't get a political leader have a drink in their hand. He started standing outside the pub with a pint in his hand. Now you can't get them off the television without a drink in their hand. It's an astonishing... The people do not feel engaged with people, for instance, wearing blue suits and white shirts, right? They don't know anybody like that. They're normally called barristers, you know, they're normally barristers.
But Nigel Farage wears Barbers and City
yes,
striped suits, so I mean, how would they feel closer to that? Really?
That's why they like him, because he stands out in their crowd.
Do people, though, judge different politicians on different criteria?
Yes, I think they do. I mean, just to take up that point, Nigel Farage is seen as less out of touch as some of the other leaders. Yes, I do. I think they do. I think Nigel Farage probably is being judged on different criteria to particularly David Cameron and Ed Miliband, who are, you know, the more realistic options who are going to be Prime Minister after 2015. And so I think the public are looking for different things from them.
What about the question, though, of being authentic? We talk about this endlessly. Is that still the critical issue, that whatever you do, however you present yourself, it's got to feel real?
Clearly that's important, and that explains exactly, as Ken was just saying, that part of Nigel Farage's appeal. He's able to show that he's more authentic, he's less out of touch than the other leaders, at least in the public's eyes, and I think that's important. It's not the only issue, though. I mean, again, if you're looking at one of the leaders of the main two parties, people are looking for some of those classic attributes about being good in a crisis, about having sound judgment, about understanding the problems facing Britain.
Do you think Nigel Farage will benefit from being in one of the leaders' debates if they actually happen?
He would do fantastically.
Yeah, Nick Clegg did fantastically,
yeah,
and of course they got fewer seats than they did before.
Yes, that's true. But remember, he's starting from nowhere. Right? So any publicity he gets puts him up at the top. Basically, UKIP is a vote that dare not speak its name. So I am expecting, come the election day, for them to uptick on the day as people give them the cross when they don't give the major parties the cross. The major parties have a significant problem right now.
Right. I mean, do you agree with that? I mean, do you think the other parties, the Greens included, will do better?
All the signs are pointing to that. I mean, you look at the Conservative vote share has been pretty static over the last few years, despite, you know, what we're seeing as record levels of economic optimism in our optimism index that we've been doing it since the 70s, but that doesn't seem to be feeding through. Labour's troubles are also well known, and they don't have a massive lead in the polls at all. It looks pretty neck and neck between those two.
Right. It's interesting, though, you said at the beginning that personality wasn't the top criteria, if you like, when people are deciding who would make a good leader. Does that surprise you, that it isn't about the charisma, the personality, it is actually about an overall figure leading a party?
Yes, I mean, in the end, this is where I wholly disagree with Hazel Blear's point there. She was saying, go to the doorstep and they want to talk about housing, jobs, transport.
But don't they want to talk about issues?
That. Mainly what they want to talk about, if you knock on white working class doors, is they want to talk about immigration. I noticed she didn't mention that.
But they want to talk about policies then. I mean, do you think in the end policies do still count? And even if you say immigration is one of those topics, surely the economy is as well.
Yes, I agree with you, and that's why Labour don't want to talk about it, by the way. But yes, look, I agree with you. But there has to be a sense that somebody can bring change, and we'll see change through, and also possibly tell the truth. I don't know whether it's possible to tell the truth in politics. I would have thought with Farage, you probably get a better chance than Cameron, anyway.
Right. I mean, in your eyes, what is going to be the most important, the policies, the party or the leader? Because, again, we have the Labour Party ahead, more popular than the Conservative Party, Conservative leader more popular than the Labour leader.
Yeah, I mean, that's the classic political triangle, the leader, the party and the policy. And, for example, if we go back to 2010, we found that was seen as the most presidential election we'd ever seen, and there's some sense that maybe the importance of the leaders are slipping back, perhaps since 2010, which was helped by the leaders' debates and things like that. But you know, they're all going to be important, and part of the reason why 2015 is going to be so unpredictable is that different parties are ahead on all of those issues. You know, so Labour are ahead on some issues like health, Conservatives are ahead on others like the economy. The Conservatives, David Cameron is seen as the most capable Prime Minister, but the Labour Party is a more liked party than the Conservatives. So actually they're all ahead in different ways.
That's why no one's calling it. Thanks very much.